Good morning, my friends. Happy Wednesday. Welcome on in to another episode of Silly Girls, Silly Thoughts. I'm your host, Mindful Body with Rachel B. We're mobile today. We're recording in the lovely ambiance of my office. If you can hear the light hums in the background, that's my noise canceling, but we're moving and grooving. We're keeping this show going. Happy post Memorial Day weekend. I hope everyone had a fun filled and hopefully safe time. I hope we barbecued. I hope you wore your sunscreen. What did I do? My weekend was definitely spent celebrating some friends. We have a lot of Gemini birthdays coming up, taking care of my garden at home, and honestly finding some refugee in my home through all that beach traffic. My God. My sister sent me a lovely snap of the parade going by her apartment. I sent her the line of traffic leaving the beach. It was two different parades with two different intentions, for sure. With today's title, it's a little bit of a solemn one. I would say that my tone today definitely falls in line with it because it's acting up more than usual. Getting older and getting depressed. We throw these terms around a lot. Even as a therapist, the anxiety, depression, anxiety go hand in hand more often than not. So most of you know I have anxiety. If you couldn't tell by my anxious thoughts, anxious voice, this anxious podcast, my anxiety's been around with me for all of my life, but it shows up in silly ways. If it's not connected to food, it's connected to crowds, it's connected to something new, as most anxiety is. But when we talk depression, a lot of people just emphasize it when they're sad. Oh, I'm feeling depressed today. As an ongoing joke, I would say the depresso espresso train has pulled in. Not that I want to belittle my feelings. This is my silly thought, my silly way, but I take away the sense of power we give mental health. Well, I'm depressed, I can't do anything. Well, my depresso espresso train has pulled in. It's here, but I can't give it more power than what it is because I still have other things to do today. So it's here, but I'm still moving and doing. Same with my anxiety, my silly thoughts, my silly needs, my silly self. I call it silly because my anxiety shows up in silly ways. Like I said, there's need for anxiety and depression. It's going to happen, whether it's based on situations or experiences, but it doesn't have to be around all the time. Don't let these parts drive the car. Maybe they're the passenger. Maybe they're sitting in the back seat. So when I think about depression, I'll think back to the show Big Mouth. I think they gave it a great embodiment. This purple cat would just come on in with this calm and this cozy, and you're comfortable because depression can be very comfortable. Sometimes some of us depression is sitting around doing nothing. It's loafing. It's comfortable. You don't have to go too far. You don't have to do too much. You just kind of exist. Sometimes depression lasts for a few months, maybe a few years. Ask yourself, how long has this been? For some of us, it's a consistent. For some of us, it just kind of comes up with an event. And for some of us, it's new. I've never felt this type of sad before. I've had things go on in my life since I was young to now that could make me sad, but this kind of sad for me just lingers. And when I reflected with it, am I really depressed or am I just getting older? Is my depression by the book, the DSM-5? Because you shouldn't diagnose yourself either, and it's not what I'm trying to say, but I felt myself get more sad, or this sad kind of exists longer, and sometimes it's related to a season. But my summer girl sad can relate back to not feeling productive for the last maybe 3 to 4 years. I'm just finishing school. We had our lovely lockdown. Summertime, I'm not doing as much because therapy isn't as high demand until it's August and all my teen beans go back to college. But from May, June, July, in the past few years, I wasn't doing much. When I'm not doing much, I feel unproductive. When I'm unproductive, I'm sad. But even finding that balance for myself between doing so much, the anxious me, do more, plan. You could add more stuff in, Rachel. You can do everything, Rachel. What do you mean you can't do everything? My anxiety. And then my depression of, well, you're not doing anything, so why even try to do anything? You got nothing to do. Why even try? Very go, go, go on one side. Stop, stay, and sink on the other. And sometimes my sadness lasted through the summers because I wasn't doing much. And then one summer it just kind of stayed. It didn't go away in September. My sadness just stayed. And my sadness isn't impacting my day to day. Some days just feel longer than others. Damn, this really is depressive espresso change. My God, I'm even listening to myself. I know I'm out of place recording this in my office, but it's so me. We'll balance it. We'll balance it with some jokes. Give me a second. That's my coping skill. So as my sadness continued on through September into October and November and December, and it was no longer this quote unquote summer girl sad. I'm like, this sad is still here. Why is my sad still here? And I sat with my own therapist for weeks, like just kind of talking about what's going on in life, changes that are coming and going, changes that are supposed to be happening, changes that are welcomed, and changes that are not expected. That's life. And the more we would talk and the more I would reflect and the more I sat with this, I ran into this wall of, am I really depressed or am I just getting older? Because we can normalize the excitement of growing up. When you're in your teens, when you're a kid, I can't wait to be an adult. I'll have so much more freedom. I'll have so much more responsibility. I'll be in control of myself finally. I think that's the biggest one I'll hear. And saw for myself. When you're a teenager, you're a young adult, it's not so much the freedom to do what you want to do, it's just the opportunity to let go of some restrictions because of age. And when you come from a household, a traditional household like I did, there's that hierarchy. Well, I wasn't able to do it when I was younger, but when I'm an adult, I'll be able to have a say finally. But when I'm an adult, I'll be able to wear what I want to wear. When I'm an adult, I'll be able to eat what I want to eat. And again, coming from a general sense. I'll get to drive wherever I want to drive. I'll be able to go to that show whenever I want to go. Good for you. And you get that sense of freedom or opportunity, responsibility. And it's so exciting. And you keep saying this through your 20s. Well, when I get older. But then when I hit 25, the excitement, not even 25, maybe even like 24 or 23, this excitement of getting older turned into stress. And sitting now, even thinking about it, my stress could have started early teens from a romantic side, stress of finding a partner, because I already had my schoolwork in place, I already had my jobs in place, but I didn't have control over a partnership. So early 20s to mid 20s, this pressure of like, well, this is expected of me and I need this because I'm getting older and we have to make this happen because everyone's counting on me, societal pressure, blah, 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 blah. It's all in my head. Expectations now. It's no longer this I'm so looking forward to. It's expected of me. It's expected of me to graduate school. It's expected of me to get a job. It's expected of me to get married. It's expected of me to start a family. It's expected of me to get a house. Blah, 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 blah. Keep going. So here we are from this exciting moment of I can't wait to be responsible to this pressure moment now. Well, I have to do all these things because if I don't, what else is there to do? A lot of adults talk expectations, and again, I'm talking about a traditional aspect because at some point it clicks that everyone's still doing their own thing, and I think I even say that for so many of my clients that we all follow a similar, Not the same, similar path through school and grade school and high school, and maybe some of us go to college, maybe we don't, but once you graduate high school, you do you. That can both be empowering and intimidating. You do you. What do you want to do? What is there to do? What guidelines are we following? And then there's that general expectation. Go to college, get married, buy a house, have kids. And what? No one talks about the in between. No one talks about the moments of, well, if you didn't pass this course, or when you have to change your major, if you end up getting pregnant by accident, or if someone passes away, or if you find someone like, no one talks about life that is going to happen for every one of us. I really imagine what life looks like. I almost picture the game life. Every little square is a different square to a sidewalk. Each one takes a different twist and turn. Sometimes these sidewalks come together, sometimes they go in opposite directions, and that's life. And it hasn't been emphasized in the real world, at least not for me. So when these expectations were being spoken as if it was reality in my mindset, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to this idea of, well, I broke up with somebody in my 20s, and I was like, well, don't have a person, so I failed. I moved back home in my 20s, so failed. I had to change jobs in my 20s, felt like I failed. And every time I failed, everyone's like, oh, you're fine, you're fine. You know, embrace it. You think it's hard now, it's going to get worse when you get older. Well, that's great. I hate that line so fucking much. Oh, I'm going to use a hard F today because why not? I hate that line so fucking much. Enjoy it now because it's just going to get worse when you get older. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. That's so invalidating because one, we're maintaining this idea of no one talks about how it's hard even though we all go through something like this that's hard. You probably weren't invalidated, and I say you as a general sense. To the people who are saying these, well, enjoy it now because it's just going to get worse when you're older. I'm going to assume that you weren't validated when you were my age, because why are we maintaining that narrative? Oh, you're not having a great time? It's just going to get worse. We take those words so literal when we're young. What do you mean it's going to get worse? It already feels like my world is falling apart. Where's that voice? Where's that sense to say, hey, been there, done that? It happens. Been there, done that, still figuring ourselves out. Been there, done that, still learning our strengths. Been there, done that, still learning about love. Been there, done that, still trying to learn. We all are. No one truly knows everything. No one truly knows anything, if anything. People will look at me as a therapist. Well, you're my therapist. You should know. I only know about me. I know about general life. I'm curious to see what choices people make. I study mental health. But there's still going to be moments where I fall short. Because you can read about so many things, but until you see it eye to eye, you don't really truly understand. You can help people along the way, but people are still going to make their choices out of my control. Do I know everything? No, I can expect. You can assume. But assuming makes a what ass out of you and me. So why aren't we normalizing this type of sad that shows up when you don't do what is expected of you? Why aren't we talking about that it's okay to feel that you failed, even though you're trying so hard to control something that's out of your control, because we cannot control our partners. We don't always get to control our jobs. We don't control the outside world. I didn't expect to be locked into an apartment for a few years. I don't think the person I was dating at the time did too. I didn't expect to meet the partner I have now the way I did. I don't think he did either. I didn't expect to have this job. I didn't expect to have things happen the way they do. I didn't expect things to change, but they're going to. What do I mean by change? Well, if you have to see it from your own eyes, your own perspective, that you need to make changes for yourself in your control, maybe that's changing your job, changing your relationships, changing your whole style. But out of your control, you can't change others from finding themselves, figuring out their own relationships, finding their own style. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, I can't control the people around me, so at the same time as I'm changing, the people around me are changing, and sometimes we all change in different directions, going back to that game of life. I'm hopeful that my path can walk alongside another person's path, and maybe we'll meet in the middle, and sometimes those paths go in different ways. And that could be related to so much. Friends, family, everyone's making their choices, everyone's making their adjustments, and sometimes we think of others when we make those changes. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we can't. I think a big lesson I've learned is that I've worked so hard to think of everyone else's choices that even when I made choices for myself, I'm still going to forget someone. Whether I put myself first, I'm going to drop the ball on the person I was thinking of. If I put that person first, I'm going to drop the ball on thinking of myself. And it wasn't until I think last summer my boyfriend really held me up to my mirror and said, "You're doing too much. You're trying so hard to maintain what you know, but you need to learn about everyone around you now. Because you don't really know them anymore, and I don't think the people around me really know me anymore, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be this negative thing. It's not supposed to be this dun dun dun, how do you not know me? It's supposed to say, hey, that's not really me anymore. Talk to me." It's a lot of work to change together. It's not normal for all of us to change at the same time in the same direction. It's normal for us to all scatter. We scatter. We scatter within our friendships, within our families, within the relationships that have been quote unquote established for so long. They're gonna get changed. I can't always tie this back to romantic relationships for myself because unfortunately every time there was change, I've always left relationships. I have a 2-year curse as an LOL. I'm hoping my relationships stay longer as they change with me because honestly, I would definitely say my present partner has gone through incredible changes with me, both as an observing person, as the person driving the car, and as my passenger. That's the metaphor I'll use. He's been a part of a lot of my big changes. He's been a part of my life and change where outside of my control, we've both dealt with grief and loss. He's been in parts of my life where change has been welcomed with success and excitement for new. But then there's the day-to-day changes. It's not the, oh, someone graduated college or someone had a baby or someone died change, but they're the smaller life milestones of change. Changing routine, figuring out holidays, changing dynamics to complement the new people that are in your life. My boyfriend and I are both older siblings, and I want us to talk about the dating game together because I really enjoy his perspective and his experiences really shape the way he sees things. But us being older siblings, even in our families, we were both in these roles, I'll say, whether we chose them or they just kind of happened because things happen in families. But we would always be expected to take control or expected to lead or expected to plan or expected to be responsible for. And a big change that we've had to do together is acknowledge that we are not responsible for the other person. We're only responsible for ourselves. We can take care of one another, but when it comes to working together, we hit a bit of a wall, but working on it. Building that communication. Hey, let me know what you're doing. Hey, how can I help you? Hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to do that? How can we do this together and successfully finish whatever task is at hand? That's making a small change day to day. That's showing two people putting in the same amount of effort to show up to meet in the middle to make that change. Because again, you can't control the other person. You can only control yourself. Do you have the motivation? Do you have the desire? Do you have the intention? That's great. Does the other person have the same? Great. And if they don't, and it's only a percentage, then you have to complement it, vice versa. But again, we're highlighting the changes and the intentions shared among two people, but when those intentions aren't shared with everybody, or if everybody doesn't want change, because that's family therapy in itself, one person starts the motion, or one person's the quote-unquote scapegoat, and says we need change because this isn't working. But I see that change for the three of us. We've all moved out. We're all finding our new routines. We're all navigating through our careers. We're all changing. And while some of these changes, again, are either following the lead of others because it's okay to say that we don't know what to do, or taking a risk for yourself, we're changing in different directions. And it's both scary because it's new, sad because it's different, frustrating because we're still trying to figure it out, whatever that is. And it falls back to that feeling of sad. And even as I sit here and kind of reflect on it, I think a lot of my sad comes from that place of grief. Mourning the things that I know, mourning the relationships that have changed, mourning, I say traditions, but it's almost just, I'll say routine. We had a routine with family holidays, we had a routine with family vacations, we had a routine with friends, we have a routine with relationships, and when they change, you gotta grieve what no longer exists. And no one talks about that. No one talks about the grief that comes with getting older. It is sad. I think this is the first summer that I'm not going down to the shore with my family, and that's sad. But you can't ignore change. You can't just keep pushing forward. You have to have time to grieve. You have to have time to grieve however you want. I almost say cry, but everyone grieves so differently. There are moments where I just cried over something that's not going to happen again. No, I saw this trend on TikTok for so long. I miss sometimes sharing a room. It's so easy to like roll over from your bed and just have your sister right there and just talk. You miss walking in the room next to it and it's your brothers. You miss everyone sitting at dinner or coming home to everyone sitting at the table from work. You miss these things. And some of us try so hard to maintain these things while we at the same time are changing, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work. And it just creates more stress. Well, keep what you know, even though there's so many things that are different. And if you're not feeling stressed, I can bet you the people around you are feeling stressed, and that's not your fault. It's not that person's fault. It's just asking everyone to compromise, to adjust, to lean into the change. It's not asking to give up. It's to stop forcing things to happen that are just not happening again. So my grief, normal and generally, is connected to that normal thing of change, that normal thing of growth, that normal sense of something new. But I know a lot of my sad also comes from disappointment. I want to highlight that. I was disappointed that I couldn't reach a lot of these expectations. I'm not married, I don't have children, but I'm also only 29. And even as you hear my voice practically remind myself that, yeah, it sucks that I don't have what I expected to have, or I tried to plan to have, or I tried to force to happen, because you can't force things to happen, and you can't overplan things that are outside of your control, and you can't have expectations. at least too high for you to reach. You have to know your own strengths. You have to acknowledge what, again, is in your control. For me, I have a goal, not an expectation. I have a goal to continue my strong partnership. I have a goal to possibly get married. I have a goal to possibly start a family. I would like to. I've discussed this with my partner, in my control. And we actively show up day to day to have a good relationship, to maintain it for the future. We're trying to reach this goal together, while letting go of these expectations of, Rachel, you were supposed to have everything, like you said, by 25. You gotta let go. I don't know where the number 25 came into my head. Probably everybody. I feel like we all sit down and go, oh my God, I'm gonna marry. This feels so Friends. When Rachel's at her 30th birthday party, she's like, well, I have to meet someone now. And then I'll, plan the wedding for like 2 years, and then we'll get married, and then we'll have a baby by like 35. Friends normalized a lot of that shit. Friends normalized a lot of it, but they also had their own privileges, because life is not like a show. Life isn't like the movies sometimes. Life is a lot more simpler. We make it complicated with our big feelings. I complicated my life with my sad feelings. And I'm only sad because I put this expectation. My expectations were emphasized by so many people around me, and if I really pinpoint where my possible depression is coming from, it's probably from disappointment. I'm still following this line of, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So in the beginning, if you asked me what I was disappointed or who I was disappointed in, it was just the older people around me. I felt this type of pressure of like, well, make sure and make sure and make sure. And did you call? Did you go here? Did you talk to? Did you make this happen? So many questions. And I think there was a normal part of me that was just looking for guidance, like so many of us. If you don't know what's going on, talk to an elder. Sure, get advice. Sure. But sometimes people should not be giving out advice, because they're obviously not practicing it, and that was me disappointing myself. I grew up with this sense of authority. I grew up with a sense of hierarchy. I grew up with tradition. Tradition, you look up to adults. Tradition, you respect adults. Tradition, kids are seen, not heard. You don't know because you're a child. You don't know anything. You just need to wait until you get older. And here I am, older, quote unquote wiser, definitely hotter, but like sometimes it feels like I'm the only one who grew up, because the people who told me to grow up for so many years are still doing so themselves. And that's not supposed to be a jab. That's not supposed to be a what the fuck. It really is a eye opener. Not supposed to be this judgmental thing. It's just acknowledging limitations in humans, because humans are humans at the end of the day. No human is better than another human. It's very rare that any human knows everything. But when people hold on to their own ish, whatever it is, general sense, when people hold on to their own ego, when people hold on to their own insecurities, when people speak from their own anxieties, and they're not doing the work for themselves, because I don't know. I don't know if I just hold on to this sense of pressure of people telling me what to do, where to go, what to see, how to make it happen. I do it all the way they said so, and then I still don't get to be where I want to be or what was expected to be. That's where my disappointment is. Well, you told me. I followed you, I trusted you, and you let me down. So now I'm not really coming back. Fooled me once, shame on you. Fooled me twice, shame on me. Why am I allowing myself to continue to get disappointed? Why do I continue to feel disappointed? It sucks, because I don't want to feel disappointed. I don't want to feel let down anymore. I don't want to feel excited for no reason. I'm not asking people to talk to me like the glass is half empty, but I'm a little too old for fairy tales. I'm 29. I'm kind of over it. I'm over older people putting this idea of like, don't worry, everything's gonna be amazing. That's not motivational speech, my friends. That's not motivational speech. There's a difference between highlighting or feeling optimistic or even being hopeful. Express that. I'm hopeful for you. Not, don't worry, you'll find. Don't worry, it's coming. Well, if you try harder. No, no. It's not that hard to create some not so great feelings. It's okay to feel not so great in order to feel better. I'm telling you because I'm telling myself at the same time. It's okay to be sad. You're allowed to be sad. Sometimes that sad's gonna sit for a little bit. What are you doing to make yourself feel comfortable and you're not so comfortable feeling, my friend? Those are the conversations I wanted to have. I'm having, will be having going forward. Because even as I sit here feeling a little low, I still want to see that glass half full. I still want to be optimistic. I still want to be hopeful because I've understood my sad as I'm still learning it. I understand what brings me a sense of peace in my sad, and maybe that's my comfortable effort and my not so comfortable feeling. Sitting outside, comfortable effort and my not so comfortable feeling. Making something good to eat. Comfortable in my not so comfortable feeling leans into self-care. Maybe it's going out to see a friend. Maybe it's leaning into your hobbies, but this is only going to exist as long as I make it exist. It's different for so many people. I can only speak for myself. But my sad being tied to getting older and changing, for me, is not listening anymore. I'm not really listening to the expectations, the conversations, or I've even coined it the small talk of your 20s. Are you married yet? Are you having babies yet? Do you have a job yet? Ask me about the weather. I started watching more reality TV so I'd have other things to talk about because I just didn't want to talk about myself. I don't want to. I know it's older people trying to get me excited or even feel that they need to celebrate something for themselves because we all want to celebrate something. I get it. I understand. But I'm working so hard just to pay my bills. And that's not really celebratory. Maybe it is celebration worth, but it's not the celebration that I think you want. It's not the attitude that I don't think other people were expecting from me. So to avoid looking silly and stupid, I just ask me about the weather. Ask me about a reality show. I stopped talking about these topics. Why am I going to make myself upset? Why am I going to feel critical towards myself? Because it's just me. I know some of us have outside people who are emphasizing it, and you're just like, I can't get away from these conversations, Rachel. They're just going to keep coming. I know. I don't even say hello on the phone anymore when my grandmother calls me. She'll call, I'll say, not engaged yet. She said, oh, I know this about her. My grandmother doesn't bother me. She's old. Half the time I was debating to lie to her and tell her I was married, but part of me's scared she'll stay longer if I say that. I love my grandmother, I do, but even I'm just like, what are you doing here? You've already lived your life. What does it matter what I'm doing? What does it matter where I'm going? I don't know if she wants to celebrate me, if she's concerned for me, or she has her own anxieties about my well-being, but I acknowledge right now it feels like a pressure. Feels like I'm letting her down, feels like I'm letting people down, and then there are moments I'm just exhausted. I'm just trying to do me. I'm just trying to do day to day, week by week, month by month. Whatever happens tomorrow happens. But right now, in the moment, that's all I'm doing. We have to stay mindful, and we have to move slow, and we have to normalize change, and we have to be okay when things don't go our way. You are gonna be okay. I think my goal as a therapist and even as an adult to clients that are in their teenage world are just normalizing that, yeah, it's shitty right now. I laugh sometimes because people don't expect me to say that as a therapist. They'll tell me, oh my God, this, that, and the other happened. I broke up. I moved out. I didn't pass my college course. I'm just like, yep, shit happens. It sucks. They're like, you're not going to tell me it gets better? I'm just like, no, I'm sitting with you in the present moment. Right now, this sucks. And it's okay that it sucks. And it's okay that it doesn't feel great right now. Let's acknowledge how we feel right now in the present moment. And we'll try to do something in our control, but you can be hopeful. I think the biggest themes are you could be hopeful to find love. You could be hopeful to get that new job. But you only have control over yourself. You don't have control over the whole situation. Sometimes it's right time, right place, right opportunity. Sometimes things fall apart and you're allowed to fall apart. Or you're allowed to be disappointed here and there, but don't be disappointed in yourself for so long. You're allowed to criticize yourself, but don't be critical all hours of the day. You're allowed to want something more, but you can't expect it. I'm learning as I navigate through my own sad that simple is key for me. Simplicity in my routine, simplicity in my day to day. This is living. Because there's so many other parts of my life that are not simple for whatever reason. So when I lean in parts of myself that are simple, taking care of my garden, simple routine with my gym, playing with my animals, engaging with my partner, simple things bring me stability and peace. They help balance this type of emphasis and pressure of expectation. If you're not finding your balance to your sad, you're comfortable with your uncomfortable feeling, you're going to lean too far to one side. I'm allowing myself to feel sad. I'm allowing myself to feel depressed. I will not allow myself to fall too far for too long. I got too many things to do. And when things go well, they go well. And I'll appreciate them and feel grateful for them. Because by no means am I going to sit here and quote, don't be sad, be glad, let it go, be happy. I'd be fake as shit if I said that. I love to cry. I love to be sad. I love to feel the feeling. But like I said, I'm not going to allow myself to fall far to one side. I got to come right back to that middle. So as we record today and post this week, feeling a little low, just know that I'll try my best to balance it, to come back to my medium. I'm hopeful to have a brighter day because I am a bright person. I try. And as we open the conversation further, how are you embracing adulthood? What kind of feelings are coming up for you as you get older? What kind of changes do you see are a general change that maybe I missed at? I'm always here to grow on a topic. I'm always here to answer questions. I'm always here to dive deeper into a topic. What do we want to know? What do we want to talk about? How are we embracing adulthood for my early 20 listeners, late 20 listeners? How are we embracing our 30s? I can't wait. Cannot wait to see what that decade brings. For myself, for my friends, for the environment around me, low key. As an adult towards other adults, when talking to young adults, stop painting this picture of brightness all the time. Life is life, a balance. Embrace the good, be mindful of the bad. Don't use the bad to create more fear. There's good and bad in everything. We need to talk about these good and bad balances because we're scaring too many kids from not taking risks and chances, missing out on opportunity, and we're creating big expectations, creating so much excitement that people are falling too fast into disappointment and giving up. Come back to the middle with me, my friends, and we'll find the good and bad on both. We'll try our best to highlight and rest. As always, we're finding that silly balance with our silly thoughts. And this is just another silly topic on a silly podcast. I'm wishing you all a great rest of the day, a week, and weekend to come. Until next time, my friends, I'm Mindful Body with Rachel B. You're listening to Silly Girls, Silly Thoughts podcast.